Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to September's webinar on building emails that start a conversation. My name is Nicole Forschler-Horn, and I'm Vice President of JMH Consulting. Before we begin, I'll just give you a brief overview of who JMH Consulting is, and we'll go through a couple of housekeeping things and dive into this. JMH Consulting, for those of you who don't know, is a higher education consulting firm that specializes in marketing and recruitment for degree and non-credit programs, as well as we help launch non-credit certificate programs. Moving into the housekeeping items, today's webinar will be between 30 and 45 minutes in length. You can ask questions by entering them into the chat box, and I'll stop during a couple of points for our webinar to answer those questions and to give you a chance to kind of think on what we've just discussed. We will be recording this webinar. I know that you're all pretty busy people and this is a hectic time of year. So if for some reason you need to step away from the webinar, we will be sending you a link to this recording via email by the end of the week. So you'll have access to it, and feel free to share that with your colleagues if you feel like there's some things that you gleaned from this webinar that you think they absolutely need to see and can immediately incorporate in your email marketing efforts. So I guess after that, let's go ahead and get started. I thought we'd kind of start with a basic premise, and that's answering the question, why are you using email? Well, the number one reason may be it's inexpensive. There are a lot of great systems out there that universities can use and departments have access to, not to mention our day-to-day email accounts. It's also easy. You can write an email and get that sent in an hour, or if you're very efficient, in a moment. It's also customizable. You can use email to target your audience based on what they are interested in, and you can change your messaging based on what your goal is. It's also something that is in demand. I know that when we want to make a final impact on enrollment, my recruiting team will frequently go to email as a tool they can use, and there has been jokes made that oh well, we can always send an email. The challenge with that thinking is that you're not the only one who's thinking that way. All of the things that make email a great tool for you to use are the same things that make it an attractive tool for others to use. So right now, when you open your email, you may feel like it's flooded with useless information. Everyone is using it, and it's hard to stand out. And this directly impacts your ability to use email to engage with people and to begin that dialogue. I thought this information really set the stage as I was doing some research to provide context for our conversation today. I found this great statistic about email inbox for the average business person. There's about 112 email touches, and by a touch I mean we're including in that email that's received as well as email that is sent. So if you look at email that's in your inbox and take out the email that you send out, because you send about 37 emails, they're saying, on average. So you've got 75 emails left. And of that, 65 are what someone considers a legitimate email. 13 emails are spam. So I mean, it kind of is mind-blowing to think that you touch and interact with anything 100 times in one day. But email is one of those things that are just core to the way we do business, the way we communicate, the way we have conversations. So we're going to be talking about email today within that context. Now, what I'm not going to talk about today are different email systems or how to add numbers to your email list so that you're reaching more people, or how to make your email look pretty. If you've got great bells and whistles and things to engage people, we're not talking about that today. So that's out of scope to set expectations. What we are talking about today is we're going to begin with a reminder of the two most important rules for email. And that's making sure that your emails are not tone deaf and making sure that they're readable. And I'll get into this in a little bit more detail in just a moment. We're going to use these principles then to talk about the larger topic of using email to build a relationship and doing that through personal emails, communication plans, and email campaigns. So again, covering some of the basic principles, the two that we at JMH Consulting think are the most important, and then taking those principles and really delving into the three ways in which we at a university typically are using emails. Now, those of you who know me know that I will admit it, I'm a raging liberal. This is not my opportunity to talk politics, but I have this picture of Obama up here because the way in which the Obama campaign used email, particularly in the 2012 campaign, was a game changer. And many of you may have seen some of the articles that were done about the way in which they used email and the discoveries that came out of it. So most of the $690 million Obama raised online came from fundraising emails. His team had the opportunity to do extensive A/B testing. And the way they talked about it, they said, this is not just testing on subject lines, but they also tested the amount of money they would ask people for, the messaging, even the formatting. And they had a couple big takeaways that I think we can directly take and apply to the work we do. We can kind of steal their A/B testing because they had a huge list and use it for our much smaller and still equally important lists. So I'm going to take you through a couple email examples from the Obama campaign, and then we can talk about what might jump out at you. So starting with this first one, we have, some of you might remember there was a campaign asking for $25 and you get a chance to join the president for dinner. I like the language specifically in this email. They use terms like a table, chairs, and some grub. It's interesting to see the word grub in a campaign email, and asking people to donate $25 or whatever you can. Very colloquial in the way we're talking. This next one came out right before the Supreme Court ruled on Obamacare. And again, it's Brett, we don't know what's going to happen, but no matter what, it's an important chance that you show you have Obama's back. So again, very laid back, very direct, and extremely friendly, like you're just talking to someone you know. And this one, as I was doing research, this email came up a lot. The subject line in this email is, hey, hey. The email with the subject line "Hey" was one of the most effective emails that they had. So what you're seeing in all three of these examples, and what the email writing team talked about, their lessons learned, were that when they were writing emails, they wanted to make sure it was friendly. So it came from a person. Now, you're not going to have 3 million people to test your content, but we can glean from those A/B tests of 3 million people that messaging from a person where I and we are okay, and it's not at all very formal. It's like you're sending a message to your friend who you've known for years. This is what's happening. This is what you need to know about. All of that worked for the Obama email campaign. not being too formal, and being friendly. So a great example when I was thinking about this is getting away from that ivory tower language. It's the difference between talking about pedagogy in an email and talking about how you will learn. So you want to be friendly, you want to be direct. If somebody is taking the time to open up your email and read it, you want to make sure that you take the time to be approachable. And finally, you'll notice that all of those emails were succinct. They didn't write paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs explaining Obama's platform or Mitt Romney's platform or doing a cross comparison. They had a simple goal. They were very direct. They had links to more information. So very succinct. These are the tone guidelines that I want you to take away from this webinar. And these kind of best practices of being friendly, being approachable, being succinct, you can see them, you can see how effective they are in your own campaigns. And we're also seeing it again and again in the research. Now, I have in here be succinct. I want to spend a little bit more time about that because this is important as you're writing your copy. Your tone's not only important, but the way in which you express it and the length of it is important. To kind of give us some context, what we know is that people don't spend a lot of time reading emails. This graph shows you how long people on average spend reading each email, and it's broken down by device. It looks like if you're an Android user, you take the most time. But you can see the vast majority of people fall in the 3 to 15 seconds range, with a full third of desktop emails being read in 3 seconds or less. So let's get a sense for what that means. I'm going to show you 2 different screenshots, and I want you to see how much you can glean from each of these screenshots so that you can get the full impact of what it's like. So here's our first one. I'm only going to give you 3 seconds. Ready, set, go. Second one. So which of those 2 emails were you able to grab the most information from? Probably the second email, which highlighted advanced project management. It used bullets. The links were in blue. What I like to tell people when I'm explaining kind of an email philosophy is you are not your prospective student's favorite author. Your emails are not going to be read with care. And that in general, people don't read emails. They skim emails. And your copy and the way you develop your copy has to reflect that. And what this means is using text blocks. Those text blocks with nice leading in between makes emails easier to skim. And we're talking short text blocks between 100 and 200 words. And they should have a strong call to action. Use bullets. I love using bullets in my emails. I feel like that's a great way to really easily break up the content within an email. It gives people a real sense of, this is what I want you to see. Highlight links, which usually your email will automatically do. It's going to turn it blue, it's going to underline it, but highlight those links so that they stand out, so that there's a clear call to action up to it. And headlines or images. Again, headlines and images really help to make an impact and make a difference in the way something is read. It breaks up the text, and it kind of pulls together, this is what you have to look at. And finally, if you want a rule of thumb for don't let your email be longer than X is 750 words is the absolute max of the research I've seen. And again, in most cases, shorter is better. So I'm going to take a moment and stop and see if we have any questions at this point. Okay, I've got one question that's come through. People are asking about going back to want to know a little bit more information on the pictures or graphics and the use of pictures or graphics in an email. I saw it, and as I was researching for this to give some more context to our information, one of the things that I saw that I thought was interesting is HubSpot did some research, and they said that they found that 65% of people prefer emails that are mostly images. That's a pretty large number of people saying they want mostly images. I was also gathering some emails so that I had some good examples. I saw one come through from the University of Nebraska. They had a fantastic email that had a short introduction and a large video clip that you could play that was a student talking about the impact of the program on her life. It was very compelling. All right, I have one other email. Any advice for newsletters or general email communication? And Jean, I think we're going to get a little bit. We'll touch on that. We're going to touch on that a little bit. So let me get to that. All right. I'm gonna keep going, and any email that I don't, any question that I don't answer, I'll try and tackle a little further on. So what do we know about the people that we are trying to reach? We know that they are getting a lot of emails every day, and that you want to talk with them in a way that's friendly and to the point. We've kind of touched on that. The other thing that we know for the audience that we're serving is that the median age for undergraduate students is 32, and the median age for graduate students is 33. Most are post-traditional. They work, they live off campus, they're financially independent. 75% of undergrads and 85% of graduates are employed full or part-time. So you're looking at people in their 30s who are working full-time. There's a decent chance they are also raising a family, and they've got a lot of things to juggle. So now we're getting into, given the fact that they're working, they're grown up, they've got obligations to juggle, how do we begin to move our relationship with them forward? How can we do this in a meaningful way? So I want to talk about the different kinds of emails that you're going to be writing. For all of these emails, I'm wearing my recruiter hat. My goal is to get someone talking with me to begin to build trust and to help them choose my program. And there are 3 ways in which we can use email to do this. First, there's the personal email. This is the email that you write and send. It's not auto-generated. It's not part of a larger email communication plan. The personal emails are in response to a prospective student reaching out to you. And this could be via a landing page, via an inquiry form, or a phone call. We use personal emails when we're in conversations with a potential student or trying to start a conversation with a potential student. Second, there's the email communication plan. And this is not to be confused with an email campaign, which I'm going to get to in a minute. Email communication plans take the long approach. These are the plans that are 1 to 6 months in length, depending on the kind of program you're marketing, and also usually the cost of the program. I say this because a $30,000 master's degree is going to have a much longer sales cycle than a $1,000 grant writing certificate. And then there's also the email campaign. These are the 3 to 5 emails that you send within a 2-week period. In each of these cases, you're using that conversational tone, and you still need to write an email so that people can skim it. But the content of these emails, the calls to action, and the purpose of the emails will be different. So let's dive into each of these in a little more detail. Let's start with the personal email. This is probably the most powerful and effective way you can use email, because you're already talking with someone who has opened the door and has given you tentative permission to begin the conversation. These are the emails that are customized to speak to the needs of the prospective students and really help guide them through the process. I think of the personal email as part of that hand-holding process that you build when you're trying to recruit and enroll a student. These are the emails that say, okay, here, I'm here for you. I'm available. I can walk you through that next step. Every time you talk with a student or try to talk with a student, you should be sending them a personal email. And this way, you're giving them multiple ways in which to engage with you. For some people, an email back and forth is a lot easier than picking up the phone. An email can also sit in someone's inbox as a reminder to follow up. For my team, our rule of thumb is an email should go out also after every conversation. Because in theory, again, I'm wearing my recruitment hat. You're tracking your conversation in your CRM. So you can go ahead and send an email out while you're doing it. We also send emails out after we leave a voicemail. And I'll tell you, it happens time and again. Sometimes people choose to call back my recruiting team, but just as often we get people who email us back and say, I got your phone call. Thanks so much for the email. I appreciate you reaching out. Whether you're sending an email out or responding to an email, it should be done within the same business day. So that's the timing. And that's why, again, recruitment hat is on. You're thinking of your email should go hand in hand with those phone calls. You're opening up the door to give people, they can call you, but I mean, for those of you who have met my husband and business partner, John Horn, where I will always go to a phone call because I like to talk with people and find out what's going on in their life, and sometimes I like to talk through programs. John is the introvert on one of the introverts on my team, and he would hands down rather email you with his very specific questions, learn more that way, and do it on his timetable. So that brings us to, sorry guys, content. The content for these kind of emails should reflect how you just engaged with the prospective student. So if you're sending them an email after you left them a voicemail, go ahead and let the prospective student know who you are, what your university you're with, and how you tried to reach them. Also, you want to give them a chance to call or email you back. And I don't frame this when I send my emails. I think our go-to is we want to answer your questions. Well, that's not a really engaging way to get somebody into the conversation. Instead, I frame it as a chance to learn more about them and talk with them about whether this program makes sense to meet their career goals. Remember, these are working adults, and they are going back to school to better themselves and expand opportunities. So they want to know, why is this program going to make a difference within that career goal? And that recruitment cycle is all about building trust. And a big part of building trust is knowing what their goals are and helping to answer that question, how can this email help? The next step for your prospect is to ask them to call you or email you, whichever is easier. And I always tell a prospective student that their next step is to call me, but my next step may be that I'm going to reach out to them again in a day or in 2 days, or I'm going to be sending them more information. Again, you want them to feel like they have a sense for what you need from them, what your expectations are, and what they should be expecting from you as they get into this relationship with you and with the university. If I'm following up on a conversation, the steps really are not that different. I'm going to summarize what we discussed. I'm going to tell them what we're working towards, whether that's an application or finding out more about financial aid. And then I summarize the prospective student's next steps. So again, if their next step is to begin the application process, tell them, click here, here's the link, or the financial aid process, here's what you need to do. And I also, again, if I'm sending them information that they need in this hand-holding process, guiding them through it, I'm also going to tell them, because recruitment's not a one-call deal, it's a multi-call, multi-email process, I'm going to let them know when they can expect to hear from me again. So where personal emails are written and sent by individuals with the goal of holding the hand of the prospective student, email communication plans are automated, and their goal is to remind students that you're still here, hi, and to stay front of mind. We need email communication plans because, as I keep saying, your audience consists of working adults. They're juggling families, they're juggling other obligations, and you know it takes months for people to make the jump to apply to or enroll. During that time, email communication plans provide the gentle and useful reminder that your program is ready to help them make their next step. Email communication plans take into account the long game. Again, you're talking multiple emails over a 1 to 6 month period. Communication plans should be integrated with your recruitment efforts in the very same way that those personal emails are. So I'll tell you about the way that we've used email communication plans. That I think is the less effective way, and the way that we use them that I think is the far more effective way. So I'll start with the less effective way. And I'm going to share this with you not because I think that you should do it this way. I still think your best bet is the more effective way, which I'm going to get to. But I recognize the fact that as many university departments know, frequently we do not have enough recruiters to follow up with all of our leads, or the people who are responsible with following up with our students are also program coordinators, program managers, and every now and again you have faculty who are doing that. So recognizing that sometimes the staffs are smaller, we've used shorter email communication plans as a way to immediately begin talking to people. So when someone fills out an inquiry form, these plans are less than a month long, that were used to inform prospective students about the program so that basic questions were answered by the time someone called in that recruiter mode. The way I prefer to use email communication plans is as a follow-up to your recruitment efforts. After several attempts are made to contact a prospective student, these communication plans then are designed to keep the university front of mind over a longer period of time. In this case, you might decide to reach out to a prospective student 1 to 3 times, send the email communication plans, and then call them again before moving them into a dormant category. What you're answering in these communication plans, you're beginning with the critical question. So again, we're kind of aligning the communication plan with where people are where people are in the recruitment cycle. At the beginning, that prospective student is still a warm lead. This means your email should include the information they want to know most. Will it help my career? How much does it cost? How long will it take? How do I know it's any good? I was, again, looking, and I saw the Carol Aslanian's research. She said that more than 50% of your grad and undergrad students are enrolling in your program to change careers or advance their careers. And they were categorizing different parts of the program as unimportant, somewhat important, very important. And the cost of tuition and fees, not surprisingly, 79% of people said that's very important. The length of time to complete that program, very important. So these are the kind of questions that should be answered in your first 2 to 3 emails. The challenge, and the thing that I'm not seeing enough of in university emails, is you want to stay in front of this prospective student for, again, 1 to 6 months. You're not going to want to recycle here's the cost of the program 17 times during that time period, because people are going to unsubscribe, which undermines your goal of staying front of mind. So you want to make your emails a resource for your prospective students, something that adds value. So when we write communication plans, we are sprinkling in those plans emails about industry trends. For example, if you have a criminal justice degree, how has policing changed? How is crime changing? How do gun laws impact our police force? You should also include helpful tips. For example, if you are marketing a master's in education, you can share best practices in classroom management. A wonderful list of resources to include in your communication plans are blogs or experts that your faculty use and go to. And again, we're balancing sales and marketing with useful information that will help ensure your prospective students are opening your email, and I know this is crazy, maybe actually reading it. And I don't want you to get overwhelmed with the how do we do this and make it skimmable. This is where our links are going to be really important and very helpful. Short text blocks. When I highlight resources or when I give tips or when I talk about trends, I might give a bullet with a sentence and a link where they can find more. Your faculty are probably a wealth of information, particularly with blog posts that are out there, and that's a way to continue to engage people. So again, make it skimmable, make it linkable, but make it useful. Like your personalized email, each email in your email communication plans needs to have a call to action. And be thoughtful about the content in your email as well as the timing of it. Again, your first few emails when your prospective student is still a warm lead and you're trying to get them on the phone, that's probably a call to action around call me or email me. Later in your cycle, you might be encouraging people to like your Facebook page or share other information or follow links. All emails, though, should also include a way for people to exit. If they're not interested, this is obviously going to be an unsubscribe. But you can also give them permission and make it easy for them to give you a call or send you an email. In our emails, for every one of our email communication plan emails, again, they're coming from people. And there's almost always a call to if you have any questions, give me a call or send me an email. Give people a way to exit out of the communication plan and get back on that track towards I'm ready to enroll, I'm ready to invest, I'm ready to fill out that application. So I think customizable. One last thing. Communication plans can also be tailored. At a fundamental level, different plans should be written, of course, for different programs. And this is where someone had asked earlier about newsletters. I think that email communication plans are far more powerful than a newsletter that covers the general, here's all of the things that we have. And I'm using this as a very, very broad rule of thumb. But if you're able to provide monthly information then, which would be very similar to this communication plan, about one program in which they're extremely interested, that can be very, very powerful. I'm not sure that that's always the case. You've got universities out there that have strong personal enrichment programs, and or also broad categories of programs like education classes, like legal classes, like medical classes, that you can group things together. But all of this, you're seeing the trend of you want to tailor your communication plans, and I would gently put newsletters, probably they're comparable in there. You want to make sure you're crafting that. You also want to think about the communication plans for kind of where people are at in their cycle. So we have a general communication plan that we've crafted for our university clients, for people who have expressed an interest in a degree program but we're not in conversation, or they're not ready to commit yet, so they just want to continue to get more information. But in addition to that, I have a different communication plan for someone who has applied to the program, been accepted to the program, and they have not enrolled. For whatever life reason, they've decided they're not ready to commit as of yet. That is a tailored communication plan to that audience, because they may have already gone through the whole communication plan earlier, and now the calls to action are different. The calls to action are you ready? You might have content around juggling different obligations. Another kind of communication plan that you can create is for if you have undergraduates if you have a bachelor's degree for which there's a master's degree program, you might create a communication plan just for those undergrad students who are completing their degree to help encourage them to go on and get their master's. That personalized emails improve the click-through rates by 14% and conversion rates by 10%. So that personalization and customization can have a huge impact. All right, and now email campaigns. I think email campaigns is what we think of quite often. Campaigns are 2 to 5 emails, and they share a strong call to action. These are typically used to get butts in seats or re-engage with old leads. The content of your email campaigns, your communication plans, you're using topics that are evergreen topics that you can build out that communication plan and let it run for 6 months and not worried about it. Email campaigns, the content should come with a sense of excitement and urgency. Your campaigns should be talking about upcoming application deadlines, registration deadlines, new scholarship opportunities, or new and relevant offerings. Because this is the sense of urgency and sense of excitement, unlike your personalized emails and your communication plans, you need to be strategic with your email campaigns. So you're reserving these for 1 to 2 times a quarter because they are the big, exciting announcement, and you want to make sure that you can get a lot of bang for your buck with that. So in summary, I hope as you leave our webinar today that the final thoughts you can take away is reviewing your existing emails for tone and skimmableness. And I've decided that that is a word that we are going to use, skimmableness. When you look at it, and if they're your programs, have someone else look at it. Ask them, does my tone sound friendly, approachable, and direct? Can I quickly look at and get the highlights from my emails? And be thinking about that as you're writing your emails to your students. Have you aligned your emails, both the personal emails as well as the communication plans, with your recruitment efforts? And with automated systems like Salesforce, and I think this also is the case in Radius, you can create templates that you do some basic customization with, so that can align with your recruitment efforts. We have 2 or 3 templates where the first time I leave you a voicemail, there's a template email for, I'm sorry I've missed you. I wanted to talk with you. Here's what's about. And that helps, speed up the process. But again, make sure that you're hitting in the communication plans the important critical questions up front and sprinkling in your interesting information that's useful for people. And finally, use all 3 of these different methods. It's not just campaigns. It's not just personal emails. It's not just communication plans. Email is a powerful, powerful tool. Make sure you're using it. So again, I'll take a moment and ask if we have questions from the audience. One question that I see that's coming through is when is the best time to send an email? And what I have found, and based on things that I have read, is that the highest click-through rates, I've read 2 things, between 8 and 9 and 9 and 10, and then again between 3 and 4 o'clock. So I think that aligns with that after lunch, feeling of, oh, I can go ahead and take a breath, and in the morning when people first come in and are able to check for things. Okay. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Please visit our website at www.jmhconsulting, and you can sign up for our mailing list there. If I did not answer your question in this webinar, I will reach out to you directly to try and do so. And you can also like us on Facebook. Our next webinar will be in November, and we will send details. And again, I will send a recording of this webinar by the end of the week via email. So if you had to step out, or if you feel like there's great information that someone else can use, I would feel free to forward it. And thank you so much for joining us today, and have a fantastic day.